Welcome in, everyone. I'm Joy Foster. Hey, welcome me back. I'm back in here just to do a one-time show for you guys. We just want to look at the head coaching position at Western University. Stay tuned.
Let's go. I wake up to a little bit of drool on my pillow, feel like it's gonna be a bad day. Yeah, I'm tired of shit, and the coffee ain't hit yet, damn, ain't that great. I don't wanna go to work, cause my boss is a jerk, and I'm not even that paid. I need a change in my life, cause I don't feel alive, and there's nothing that makes me happy. Hold my beer for a minute, I'm about to quit my job, cash in for a ticket. I'm going on a trip, and I don't plan to visit. I'm gonna stay there till I feel like I'm winning, and this is just the beginning. I need a big change, help me feel like living. I need a big swing, home runs I'm hitting, and I'll never look back, moving on till I get it all. And we all got dreams, we all want things, but what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be? And do you believe you can do anything? But what you gonna do for it? How you gonna move for it? What you gonna be?
Hey, guys, what's going on? Welcome in to the Voice of College Football. I'm Joy Foster, back with you once again, just for one time, one show right here. Surprise pop-up. And here's why. I got my good friend, Mr. Will Forbes from over at MLS Moves. What's going on, Will?
Nothing much, Joey. Excited to join you today. It's been a minute since we've been on camera together, and we had some fun on the phone earlier today, and that's kind of what sparked this idea, right?
Yeah, I mean, we were sitting and we were just talking. We were just having a conversation about West Virginia football. And I said, damn, man, we need to be live and just talking like this because we were having a really good conversation. So here's what we're going to talk about a little bit with you. And we're just going to start our conversation pretty much over. So Will pretty much called me today, and we were talking about head coaching positions at West Virginia. He was asking me my thoughts, what was going to happen at West University. Now, let's set something straight here. Will is not a West Virginia fan. He's a college football fan. Will is more of a Vanderbilt guy, that area. He likes Vanderbilt football, SEC football. But he does have a vested interest in West University. He likes West University, and all that stuff. So anyway, so he calls me today and he was asking me my thoughts on West University. And I told him, I said, I'm going to stick by my guns that I've been saying for quite a while. And that is that for the last 2 weeks, I've been saying Neil Brown's done no matter what. I don't care if he wins out the rest of the year, he's done. This came from someone that's a good source of mine at West University, someone I trust very much. Will not share their name, will not say who they are, but this is what I was told, and this is what I believe will happen. So I was not told who would replace him, who the candidates were, or anything like that. But it got me thinking. So when Will asked me today what my thoughts were about Western University football, here's what I told him. Neil Brown's gone. I think Neil Brown's done. In the year, I think he's finished. I'm going to stand by that. But at the same time, what can they do? Well, Gordon Gee is retiring as president of Western University. He's up in June or July of next year of 2025. His time's up. So here would be my thought. Bring in Nick Saban as the president of the university. Bring in Jimbo Fisher as the head coach of the university. Now, what will that do? That will increase the ratings for the school. All of a sudden, we're going to be favored in nearly every game we play. All of a sudden, our enrollment at the school is going to go up quite tremendously. We've seen all this when we had a winning program back in 2005, 6, 7, 1988, 1993. All through the years, we've seen we are just now on this steady pace of decline in membership or admissions. And that's because it's in direct correlation to how bad our football program is right now, and also that our basketball program is also on the decline. But I think Coach DeVries will get that going. I'm not saying anything about Coach DeVries at this point. Absolutely not. But what I am saying is that without Bob Huggins, we struggled last year. We're on the decline. We struggled just the other night in the backyard brawl. We lost that game pretty bad in basketball. So we need something to get this program started in the right path. What can do that better than Nick Saban and Jimbo Fisher? That's my case in point. What do you think, Will? Do you agree with me or not?
Yeah, so I think I'm coming more from the Jimbo Fisher perspective, right? I know you're kind of like the Nick Saban as the president because he's a West Virginia boy, obviously loves his state, and he could probably get interest in the program to get donors more invested, get more money for the athletics, and also be a good salesman for the program, right? Nick Saban is known for winning championships at Alabama and pretty much everywhere he goes, right? So he's definitely good for the brand. But as far as the coaching aspect, and I got some stats I'm going to pull up here in a little bit, some records. Neil Brown, a lot of people thought that he was inheriting a very bad team from Dana Holgorsen, right? And that's the reason why he was so bad for so many years. And then last year he had a good season. Everybody thought, okay, this is finally fixed. This team is where it's supposed to be. He's finally broken the Holgorsen curse, and the team is going to be good now. Well, it seems like last year was an outlier, Joey, that was not the case, that was just a one-time deal, because this season he's back in line with his previous seasons where he might break 500, but he might not. It's looking like he's going to have another losing season, which he has had four losing seasons out of his 6 as the head coach of West Virginia, which is not good, right? Obviously unacceptable for the program and how good it has been historically. Now, as far as Jimbo Fisher, the reason why he is the perfect hire, and I know a lot of West Virginia fans are skeptical about Jimbo Fisher and think they should hire someone else. I saw someone say Rick Rainey. The problem with that is they've done that before. They went and hired a group of 5 coach last time successful. Neil Brown's record at Troy, Joey, was 35-16. Neil Brown is from Kentucky, so obviously borders West Virginia. They thought he would fit in culturally, and he was a winning coach, and obviously that hasn't happened, right? They need to go out there and get a proven coach in the Power 4 level, some guy who's done it at multiple places or at least one place very well. And that's where Jimbo Fisher comes in. And on top of it, he's a West Virginia guy. So he loves his state. He can sell the program, and he knows how to build. So I mentioned before that Neil Brown was 35-16, Joe, at Troy. He's 35. Okay, this is updated. He's 36-34 at West Virginia, 36-34. He's barely above 500. Now let's go over to Jimbo Fisher, who was the head coach at Florida State for 8 years, and he was the head coach at Texas A&M for 6 years. When he was at Florida State, Joey, Jimbo Fisher, he went 83-23. I'm going to repeat that again, 83-23. He was 48-16 in conference play. And the reason why that's so impressive is because the ACC was better then than it is now. So he was winning. Yeah. He was winning in a better ACC than what the ACC currently is. It was a tough conference. Some people thought it was right there with the SEC because they're the only other conference that had won national championships with 2 other teams, right? Florida State and Clemson. The Big Ten's only had until recently they got Michigan, but it was only Ohio State in the Big Ten. So you have a guy who dominated a conference for almost a decade. He goes to A&M, Joey. His record at A&M is 45-25. And some people will say, well, look, he failed at A&M. Well, the SEC is the toughest conference in college football. I don't think anybody can dispute that. They got the very top-heavy, very good teams. And A&M is not necessarily the cream of the crop. It's not the top SEC teams. It's the Georgia, Alabama, LSU. Those are the teams that have won national championships in the SEC in the last decade. So he's competing with some very tough opponents. He went 45-25 in a conference with a brutal schedule. I believe if he went to West Virginia, his West Virginia days would look more like his Florida State days than his A&M days. And also people would rally behind him like me and you talked on the phone because they like a West Virginia guy leading a West Virginia team. It gets them excited. It's kind of like Bob Huggins, right? Now, I know Bob Huggins kind of stalled out towards the end, but how exciting was it back in the day when Bob Huggins returned to West Virginia from Cincinnati? It got everybody fired up, had some very good teams. I think that the same thing will happen to Jimbo Fisher.
Yeah, and like you talked about, the ACC was a lot better when he was in it. If you think about it, there were some tough teams in the SEC then, including Clemson, including Miami, including Syracuse, Boston College, Louisville, all those teams were pretty decent teams when Jimbo Fisher was in the ACC. So I could equivalent to actually being a little bit better than the Big 12 is right now, to be honest with you. Maybe a little, probably a lot better than the Big 12 is right this moment. The ACC was then. Now, the Big 12 was better then. Don't get me wrong. I think the Big 12 was better a conference then, but we had Texas, Oklahoma at the time. So, you're talking about 2014, 2013. But now 2014, when he won that championship, right, at Florida State. So, obviously, he was the best team in the country that year. Then he moves on to Texas A&M. Now, I want to know this, and I'm sure you've got the stat brought up. What's the worst record that Jimbo Fisher's ever had in a season?
So the worst record he's ever had in a season was at A&M in 2022. He went 5-7 one time. One time. He's had every other season at A&M, which he got fired halfway through the season in 2023, so he didn't get to finish it out. But every other full season at A&M, he had 8 wins or more.
8 or more wins. What's the best record at West Virginia that Neil Brown's had? What's the most? 8 wins?
Yeah, counting the bowl game. In a regular season's 8. So Jimbo Fisher's most of his seasons, his worst seasons or average seasons would be Neil Brown's best seasons. Now at Florida State, I got this pulled up too. At Florida State, I'm going to run through real quick just his wins. How many wins he had each season? He had 10 wins his first season, 9 his second, 12 his third, 14 his fourth, 13 wins his fifth season, 10 his sixth season, 10 his seventh season, and then he had one down season where he went 5-6 at Florida State in 2017. But I mean, he didn't have a losing record. I think he left before the season had finished, so it's kind of a weird season. But to take the A&M job, but he's a winner everywhere he goes. I mean, he was one of the first teams in college football to make the playoff in 2014 when they went to the 4 teams. Now he lost in the semifinals, but he was the first team, one of the first 4 to ever make it. And that's impressive, right? He was close to winning back-to-back with Florida State from 2013 and 2014. He just came up a game short. So West Virginia is hiring a guy, or they would be, Joey, who's won a national championship in the last decade and won a national championship in this Nick Saban era. That's pretty damn impressive, man, to get a coach like that on the market.
Yeah. And then, so I see a lot of people talking about where are they going to afford this? Where are they going to make this? Or how are they going to do this, Joey? And why would Nick Saban ever do this? All right. So here's what I'm thinking. Nick Saban, he doesn't have to do this, obviously, but Nick Saban don't have to call college football for ESPN either, right? Nick Saban never has to work another day in his life. Is he doing it out of goodness heart for ESPN? No, he's doing it for money. So what we've got, though, at West Virginia is we've got a culture, and Nick Saban's a part of that culture. Nick Saban's a West Virginia boy. So is Jimbo Fisher. They understand how we feel as fans. They kind of feel the same way we do. They want our program to succeed. So I'm thinking, and another thing too, a notch in your belt to say you was the president of Western University, it's a little bit better than saying you was an announcer for ESPN. At the end of the day, when you're doing your little resume or they're chalking up what your accomplishments were in life, announcer at ESPN or a College Game Day, it's okay. That's great. But guess what? President of a university is major. So that's why Nick Saban, I think, would possibly take it. Now, I'm not saying he takes it full time. I'm not saying we sign him for a contract for 7, 8, 10 years down the road. We signed him for 2 or 3 years to come in and call him a transition president, sort of like Oliver Luck was, right? Oliver Luck came in. A lot of people said, why would Oliver Luck take a job at West Virginia when he took that job? They were saying the same thing about Oliver Luck. I mean, my goodness. So Nick Saban comes in as like a transition president, maybe signs a 2-3 year contract to be there to find a new president. But with him and Jimbo Fisher there, imagine all of a sudden the enrollment at Western University goes through the roof. All of a sudden, where the enrollment was been down through all this time and going down, and our football program's going down, our basketball program's going down, and none of it's on Ren Baker. Ren Baker's doing a fantastic job. He really is. This is just that kickstart we need to probably get back in it, and I really believe that this could do it for the program. So will Jimbo Fisher take the job now? All right, so there's the question. Will, what do you think? Would Jimbo Fisher take the job and be almost more of a charity job, right?
Sorry, I muted my mic. Exactly. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm reading some quotes here because I'm looking. You know how we've been talking about this. Me and you've been talking about this for a year about Jimbo Fisher specifically. We have been talking about him wanting to come back, but just I'll get to that in a second. But yes, Nick Saban, I wouldn't rule it out because he is. I think he has a soft spot for his home state. He's a guy who likes a challenge. I think being on College Game Day might be a little boring to him because he's not really being competitive. He's just talking about the sport. And I know that he was kind of tired of the NIL era of college football. That's why it led him to retire maybe sooner than he would have otherwise. But maybe at West Virginia, he could build his legacy in a new way. Like you're saying, be the president maybe for 2 or 3 years, get some people in there or some more investment into the athletics and help the program get to a spot it hasn't been to in a long time. And then he will also be considered, well, he kind of already is, from a home state perspective, but West Virginia University royalty, right? For helping the kind of in the same category as like Bob Huggins for helping the program get to a new height. And when you have names like that, Joey, like Nick Saban, like Jimbo Fisher, that's going to get people excited, man. Like you said on the phone, enrollment's going to be up. People, season ticket memberships are going to be up. You're going to be driving more games. There's going to be an excitement around the program that hasn't been there. Mm-hmm. And I can't tell you how long. What, Rich Rodriguez, 2007 to 2008 days, probably. Pat White and Steve Slayton days, because I don't think that kind of hype's been there in a long time. Now, going to the Jimbo Fisher aspect, I think a year ago, someone asked him, would you take the West Virginia job? He said, never say never. I'm pulling up this article, Voices of Motown. I'm sure a lot of the West Virginia fans know that site. It said, source, Jimbo Fisher is ready and willing to come home. And a lot of people said about the money, would they be able to afford him? As far as I know, his buyout with A&M, which is crazy amount of money. I think it's like $80-90 million. They are off the hook, A&M, for whatever another team's want to pay him. So if he's getting $9 million a year from A&M, if a team pays him $3 million, that means that A&M only is on the hook for $6 million of that. So West Virginia could get a sweetheart deal from him. Pay him. They're not going to pay him $1, but he could take $1 theoretically. And Jimbo Fisher's still getting paid $9 million to coach a football team. So the money's not going to be an issue. I actually think this is a perfect situation where they don't have to spend $8-9 million to get Jimbo. They could get him for probably $2 or $3 million because of how much A&M is paying him. And he's ready to come home, Joey. He's done everything else. There's no other job he could take right now that's something he hasn't done already. The only thing he hasn't done is go home and try to help build his home team up.
Yeah. And the thing about it is it would do a lot for the program, and it would do a lot for Jimbo too. If Jimbo Fisher becomes the head coach of Tulane, okay, Jimbo Fisher's the head coach of Tulane. But he becomes the head coach at West Virginia. Hey, all of a sudden, there's a big story there. Hey, country boy goes home, national championship coach returns to Morgantown. This is a big story. This gets him back on the map and back in the coaching ranks just like that. And it also helps West University. That's why Jimbo Fisher would take this job, I believe. And I'm not saying that he would completely, but I think there's an opportunity for conversation there. And also, we all know Jimbo's been spending quite a bit of time up in Morgantown, along with Nick Saban, along with Jim Justice, along with a very good friend of mine, right? A very, very good friend of mine, Senator Joe Manchin. And everybody knows I interviewed Senator Joe Manchin here before the season started, and we talked about this presidential position, this president position at Western University. The thing about that is he told me plainly, I will not be, and he told me this in private conversation too, as a friend, I will not be the president of Western University. I will not be there. Now, so will Joe Manchin be going to West Virginia? No. But at the same time, he kind of threw in there, how good Nick Saban is for West Virginia and how he's a good friend of Joe Manchin's and things, and kind of changed the subject to Nick Saban on his own. That's what got me thinking this. And I don't know that I read that right, but, Nick Saban would be a great university transition president, right? Gordon Gee comes out. Nick Saban goes in. He's a transition president for 2-3 years to go to a new president, helps get the athletic program kick-started there, brings in some extra money. I'm not saying that this is going to happen, and I know WVU fan, I agree. It is kind of dreamland, but at the same time, there are possibilities. I'm laying out a dreamland scenario that's still very, very well possible. Jimbo Fisher is a head coach. Nick Saban is president. Now, Jimbo Fisher as head coach is far more possible than Nick Saban as president. I agree with that 100%. Nick Saban as president is probably far-fetched. But at the same time, there's a possibility that he'd want to put that notch in his belt and say I was a university president. So why not ask? You ain't going to know unless you ask.
I'll say this, Joey. I'd probably give it like a 20 to 25% chance that Saban could be the president. Probably about 1 out of 4.
I do too.
I'd probably give Jimbo Fisher being the next head coach at West Virginia probably about 60 to 70% chance. And now WVU fan said Neil Brown will be back next season, unfortunately. Now, you've heard that that's not going to happen. He's going to be gone.
Heard that's not.
Now, they weren't going to fire him last year because he had a good season. That buyout's still too much. But each passing year, that buyout gets smaller and smaller, right? It's shrinking each year. I don't think there's any way he's coming back.
All right, so here's what people don't understand is buyouts can be negotiated, right? And here's how they could negotiate that. They could take Neil Brown in and say, look, we want to make a change. We want to move on, but we like you. We don't want to just come out and have to fire you. We don't want to have to do that to you. We want to move on and try to help the program. So here's what we'd like to do. We'd like to offer you a position here as offensive coordinator. Okay? But we'd like to bring somebody else in to lead this program. Would that be something that interests you? Now, another thing they can also do, too, is say, here's what we'd like to do. We'd like to give you the opportunity to just resign, step down, maybe take a job somewhere else, apply for a job. We'll help you get it. We'll give you great references. We'll tell them how good of a coach you are and tell them how great you are for a program, because he is. Look, Neil Brown's a fantastic coach Sunday through Friday. He is absolutely fantastic. He's got great culture up there. The players love him. Look, the fans like him. The fans don't want to get rid of Neil Brown. They really don't. They want him to be a winning coach. I want him to be a winning coach. But at the same time, he's not winning games. So that gives West Virginia some negotiating power there to say, hey, here's what we'll do. We'll give you $6 million and you can go coach another place. Right? And then get out of $6 million. I think very easy to do.
So I'm reading right here, and it says that Neil Brown's contract is through 2026. Okay. So if they fire him on the last day of the year, December 31st, Joey, they have to pay him 100% of his remaining salary, which is $4.2 million for 2025 and $4.4 million for 2026. So about $8.6 million. Here's the thing. If they wait to fire him after December 31st, they only have to pay him 85% of the remaining salary. So that number is around $6.8 million, $7 million. Very doable. That's not much money. Very doable. Not much money at all. Happens all the time, right? Happens all the time. Especially, I mean, like we talked about a minute ago, A&M are paying Jimbo Fisher $70 million to not coach this team. $7 million with all the money that West Virginia has, Manchin, or maybe not Manchin, but Jim Justice and all these other people that are big donors of the program. That's nothing, right? They could write a check for that today. I think that this is the time to move off of him because Jimbo's waiting in the wings, like I said. I think it definitely could happen. I think it's likely to happen because you're getting a national championship winning coach who loves your program and is going to be able to sell your program better than anyone else can sell it. And when he puts on that West Virginia attire, that hat, like he's wearing the same hat you have, it just means a little more because when he's selling these kids why to come there, he truly means it, right? He's got a vested interest in this program and being successful. And someone in the comment section said his mother lives in Clarksburg, which is where he's from. I mean, he's got roots all in that state, man. He's ready to come back home. He's only 59 years old. I told you that I think he probably could coach there for a decade, 10 years, and get this program back to a good spot and pass it off and compete in the same time. Now, one of the things I want to talk to you about, Joey, because we only got a couple more minutes, is Jimbo Fisher's ceiling. What is his floor? What is his ceiling if he became the new head coach? We went through his record as a coach at Florida State, went through his record as a coach at Texas A&M. I told you on the phone that I think that he would win 8 games, 9 games every single year at West Virginia. That would be his floor. He'd be winning that every year. And then his good years would be 10 or 11 wins. Who wouldn't take it?
I agree. If you can do that at Texas A&M, if you can win 8, 9 games every single year at Texas A&M, other than the one season he only won 5. If you can If you can win 8, 9 games every year at Texas A&M in the hardest conference without a doubt in the country, and then you can take Florida State and you win 9, 10, 11 games, 12 games every single year at Florida State. There's no doubt that he can win 8 games every year at West Virginia, without a doubt. So yeah, I agree with you 100%.
I just want to make sure that I'm right on this, just so we can see what his average win was at Florida State. Okay, so he averaged 10 wins a year at Florida State for 8 seasons. 10, and that, like we said earlier, that was a conference that was tougher back then than it is now, and he was very successful then. So West Virginia could potentially run the Big 12, Joey, with him. They could be playing in conference championships every other year at least with him there. Mm-hmm. And we're talking 5 stars, 4 stars, high 3-star recruits, all kinds of guys in the transfer portal. NIL money's good, like you said, probably could be even better with Jimbo there because they think they can, probably get more investments from donors and build a special team. It's perfect, man. And I see people in the comment section saying, what about this coordinator? What about that coach? What about this guy? Guys, this is what I'll say. You cannot, if you're West Virginia, you cannot afford to take a chance on another unproven coach like Neil Brown. It doesn't matter if they're winning at Troy, Tulane, Georgia State, wherever the hell it may be. You got to get a coach who has won at the Power 4 level. Jimbo Fisher's a hot commodity. If he really wanted to get back into coach, had the ambition to go to another big program that's not his home state, he could have several jobs this offseason that would want him because of what he's done in the past. But he has a special place in his heart for West Virginia, and that's why he wants to come back there. So you have a chance to get a coach that's going to be a hot name on the market next year, and he's proven he can win. It would be a bad decision, Joey, for West Virginia to hire a guy who's unproven again, like Neil Brown, rather than get the guy who's won 10 games a year at Florida State in a tough ACC conference. It's probably, like you said, better than the current Big 12 by a lot.
I agree. All right, guys, we have a hard out. Will has an appointment. We wanted to come on with you guys for about 30 minutes, just throw some information at you and just give you our thoughts on this. I am not by any means, was I saying that Nick Saban's going to be the next president. I'm saying it would be a great move. It would be an awesome move. Just to ask, hey, a couple of years, a transition period. Why not? And getting Jimbo Fisher, regardless, whether you hire Nick Saban or not, grab Jimbo Fisher because he can recruit, he can bring those players in, he can get excitement back in Morgantown and bring this fan base back. And this fan base means more NIL money. This fan base means more support, more people coming to games, more people buying hot dogs, more people buying beer, more people supporting local businesses there in Morgantown. All this. So you've got to think about, there's a big picture to all this stuff. So you bring in a unproven Power 5 coach or a group of 5 coach. You bring in an unproven group of 5 coach into a Power 4 level. It's a completely different scheme. It's a completely different atmosphere because at a group of 5 school, yeah, they are in the spotlight a little bit, but nothing like they are at a Power 4 level. Absolutely nothing. The commitments he's got to make to this state to go around and think about how much Neil Brown has traveled around the state and go to speaking engagements and just be, okay. That's a little bit different than he ever did at Troy. That's why you got to have a proven Power 4 coach to take over the program right now. So anyway, you can find Will over on MLS Moves. If you are a soccer fan, Will's only been doing this thing for 8 months or so. You've got nearly 5,000 subs. You've got an amazing channel over there, Will. You do a fantastic job. So everybody, I'm sure Jackson Johnson's already dropped that link and stuff. Check out MLS Moves if you're a soccer fan. But Will, I appreciate you coming on with me, man.
Hey, before I go, Joey, I want to say I appreciate everything you do. You're one of the best, if not the best, voices for West Virginia. And whatever happens, I hope that we can do another pop-up show to talk about what happens with West Virginia, the coaching search. Because like you said, it's inevitable. Neil Brown's going to get fired. Not a matter of if, but when. And it's going to be exciting times for West Virginia fans to really see who's going to be the leader of their team going forward. So hopefully we'll do another show like this and talk about it. I hope it's Jimbo Fisher. I appreciate you for having me on, my good friend. And like the show down below, subscribe to the channel, and hey, let us know in the comment section if you want to see Joey do more of these, because he loves doing them. He's kind of took a step back, but I think he always has the passion and the love to talk to you guys. So I appreciate you guys for tuning in, and I appreciate you for having me on, Joey.
I appreciate you, Will. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in with us. And yes, I will do other shows occasionally, but they're not going to be often. But when I get a great guest like Will on here, we'll be back. Everyone, we appreciate you tuning in. Hit the thumbs up button on your way out. We appreciate you all. Love you. See you next time.